So with that, I'm passing the mic to Paul.
Hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining Interware's this month's webinar. This is our the second webinar of the ransomware series. So let's start. So a little bit about Interware. So this is our 38th year in business. So the company started in 1984. And our key solution focuses are cybersecurity, digital transformation, and cloud. And our customers are from a really wide range of industries, from healthcare, financial institutions, public sectors. Those are highly regulated industries. And then education, schools, law firms, retail chains, manufacturers, etc. So our security as a service. So this is delivered by our SOC, Security Operations Center, which is the 24/7 shop, 365 days, which provide the monitoring and incident detection and response. So the team consists of a number of vendor certified professionals and as well as a number of CSSPs. So Interware cybersecurity approach is a holistic and top-down approach. So we help the customer to develop a cost-effective, a low cost but effective data to identify the assets. We help the customer to identify the values, the risk, the threats, and then from there, we help the customer develop the protection solutions, all the way from the team help the customer to develop the cybersecurity policies, help the customer to develop user awareness trainings, and as well as from the technical control point of view, that we help the customer to build and manage security appliances, EDR solutions, firewalls, anti-spam, SIEMs, etc. So if you're interested to know more about our services, please feel free to reach out to us, and then Camille will post the contact information in the chat. Okay, ransomware. Last month we talked about what is ransomware and how normally ransomware gets in. This month we talk about what are the new damages that ransomware bring to the business. So what's it called? The double extortion. Previously, ransomware encrypt your data and ask for money. You pay in Bitcoin. They send you the key, you decrypt the data and get the data back. So, but now it's different. Now, doesn't matter with the first payment to get your data decrypted or not, the attacker will ask for the second time. You're gonna pay me more, you're gonna pay me again, or not to leak your data on the dark web. So how did that happen? So the attackers get into your company's network, your environment, by either social engineering, phishing attacks, or through vulnerability. They get to the environment for a week or two, they lurk around, they find what are the valuable assets in your network. They find out where your accounting system is, where are your backups, where are your file servers, and etc. And then they're gonna create a VPN tunnel, slowly get your data outside of your premise. It's exfiltration. Once they get enough of the valuable data from you, then they're gonna trigger the ransomware and lock all the files, and then they're gonna ask the first time to pay and then second time to pay so that they don't leak the data on the dark web data auction house. So because the data is already outside of your premise, you don't have a control out of it. So use this, the second extortion, worry the most from the business owners. So some of the recent ransomware news, this is happening in November when I created this slide. Most of us knows that our TTC, the Toronto Transit Commission, got ransomware, which brought down a number of services, including the communication service to the operators and the planners for the commuters. And now the three largest cities in Canada, the transit system in those cities all get attacked by ransomware. Last year around October, November, where Vancouver and Montreal, their transit system got attacked by ransomware. The other one is now the US government put up a $10 million bounty on whoever can provide the identity information of the attacker from the dark side. So some of you may know that, well, dark side earned its name through this very famous attack of Colonial Pipeline. So the ransomware crippled Colonial Pipeline. This is a really long pipeline at East Coast in the States for over 6 days. And at the end of it, the people ran out of gas. And there's a lot of interesting story around this attack and with this attacker group, DarkSide. And Interware dealt with one of the very devastating incident happened to one of the pretty large company in Canada where they got a ransomware from DarkSide. That was a pretty bad attack, happened earlier this year before the Colonial Pipeline incident, where the company's production environment was crippled, including all their backups are gone, their disaster recovery side is gone because it mirrored all the changes. But luckily, in the end, Interware still helped them to get the data back. So this customer bounced back from such devastating attack. So some of the latest stats of ransomware in Canada. Now, on average, of a ransomware, you got to pay over $150,000 as the ransom. Before, when ransomware started, it's only $2,000. And on average, ransomware attack introduced 3 weeks of downtime to the business. So think about, if you're a business owner, can you leave 3 weeks without that system or that data, right? And also almost 150% increase attack since the pandemic. One of the reasons is that the traditional perimeter of the network has dissolved and become blurry. Before, people work in the office, there's a centralized firewall, there are centralized control in place, so the perimeter is there. But now, since the pandemic, people work from home, so the perimeter now extended to the remote offices in people's home. A lot of times, the defense and the protection at those edge offices are not sufficient. And plus, people doing a lot of online shoppings and increased phishing attempts that to be faked, Amazon orders and stuff like that to trick people to click. So that all contribute to this increase of the attack since the pandemic. So as a result, now it's down to every 11 seconds, there's a ransomware attack going on. So ransomware attack are not a matter of if, but when. So this month, we introduced SentinelOne. So SentinelOne is an endpoint detection and response solution, AKA, well, some people call it the next generation antivirus. But obviously, it does a lot more than a traditional antivirus. So this is the single product that delivers layered defenses. So number one, this is a behavior-based detection. So traditional antivirus are all rely on signature. So you have to download signature from servers and keep updated. So, but a lot of attack now are 0 day. So there's no signatures, no definition for it. So with the traditional antivirus, it become useless for this kind of increasing 0 day attacks. And also the tool prevents lateral movement. So it will contain the attack to a machine, not let it spread around the network. And it also does vulnerability detection, so you know what to patch. And system rollback. So if your system do get ransomware, and you are able to, it's almost like a time machine, you dial back, say 4 hours ago, and all your encrypted files are back and ransomware is gone. And obviously there's a lot more to it. So without further ado, Well, I hope Fiaaz is able to connect with us. I'll give him the floor.
Yeah, so I think originally we had talked about, we talked to the Interware team, we talked about this whole hybrid workforce and how it impacts our cybersecurity. So I thought I'd quickly share what it looks like today, how it impacts the workforce, how it impacts security, and then from an endpoint perspective, I'll let James kind of do a quick demo if we have some time to show you how we kind of prepare, protect, respond, and recover, to be honest, from all this, and how Interware can provide some of those services for organizations who don't have the bandwidth, expertise, or the technology to do so. So I'll dive right in. James, who just jumped on, is our senior solutions architect. I'm on the business side and work with partners like Interware across Canada and the Northeast US. So we've seen a lot of partners provide feedback, and some of this is based on some of the things we're seeing, not only from our labs, but from our partners and their customers, and some of you on the call. This is kind of what I was going to cover. I'll quickly jump through it. What the hybrid workforce looks like, implications, cybersecurity, what we should do, what some recommendations, and then a quick demo. So today's workforce, as you guys all know, this pandemic has caused a bunch of shifts in how we do, how we work, where we work. This is an interesting stat: 48% of companies didn't provide remote work, prior to the pandemic. Today, it is over 80% provide remote, whether it's forced or not. As you all know, we were all forced to work from home. What's interesting now is that as things get semi-normal, Robert Half, a staffing company, did a survey of 2,500 people, and this is an interesting stat: 33% of people would say, I would look for another job if I was forced to go back to the office. So companies are trying to struggle. What does that look like? What does the hybrid workforce look like? And these are some samples that the hybrid looks like. Bottom line is this quick turnaround to go from in the office, within the network, within the walls, and I think somebody mentioned, this blurring of the lines between work and home is affecting cybersecurity. And because the speed at which we went from work from the office to work from home, cybersecurity was put a little bit on the back end, and so companies were struggling a little bit from adjusting to it. So this radical change is here to stay, as you saw from the status. So how are organizations leveraging technologies, collaboration technology, security technology, communication technology? All of that impacts this new future hybrid workforce. So what does that mean from a cybersecurity perspective specifically? And I'll talk more from an endpoint perspective as well. The team from Interware can talk about the rest of the security, as we heard from the folks prior to my section here. So based on our labs and any other company you look at any other company that's in the cybersecurity space, everybody whose labs who are doing research out there have seen a dramatic increase in attacks tailor-made to attack remote workers on and off the network. That's the key. They know you're taking your laptop home. They know you're outside the firewall. They know you're using probably average AV or legacy AV, signature-based AV. So there are these attacks that are growing in complexity and volume and causing havoc for a lot of organizations. So what can we do about this, right? I found an interesting article here, an interesting news piece. This is not what I would recommend. Newt Gingrich suggested we subject the death penalty to people who are hackers. I'm not sure we need to go that far. I know sometimes we feel that way, but I would not recommend this. Our philosophy is more of a prepare, respond, recover model. So discover, prepare, patch all your vulnerable exploits, utilize authentication strategies, look and discover and take care of all of your IoT devices. The Alexas, the speakers, the smart fridges, the smart TVs, all are now vectors to get attacked. Maintain backups. We do have a respond, and James will show this to you. We have a recover. We have the ability to recover from a ransomware, and he can show it to you. But the smart thing to do is always have backups if you have servers or larger files you want to take care of. Make sure there's a plan in case you get. Nothing is perfect. There is no silver bullet. I wish I could tell you SentinelOne will solve all your problems. Nothing is perfect. This is an always-on adversary, hacker, protector relationship. So they only have to be right once, right? So make sure there's a plan in place. Am I going backwards here? Okay, there we go. Am I stuck? Okay, protect. My bad. Avoid clicking on. All this you guys already know from a cybersecurity awareness perspective. Don't click on things if it looks too good. It probably is too good. Don't disclose personal information and private information. Avoid sticking USB sticks that are unknown into your systems. If you do use USB sticks or hard drives, make sure you have the protection to protect those USB sticks or whatever's entering your systems or laptops or desktops. Make sure you have a strong network protection. And then of course deploy modern endpoint protection. I think the old days of legacy AV with signature, where you get infected, it gets reverse engineered, and the signature comes out. That's just not fast enough or quick enough or smart enough to take care of what's happening out there. So you need stuff with AI, machine learning, that's working on and off the network, making decisions on your laptop, desktop, or servers, versus having to connect to the cloud, because they know a lot of these things. And somebody mentioned in the beginning was some of these ransomware, they sit and wait till you're off the network and then attack your machine. So make sure you have on and off network protection. And then prepare, and then respond. Like I said, nothing's perfect. Isolate, you want to isolate the infected machine. If you've got a network of, if you've got 400 employees or 200 employees or 10 employees, one employee gets infected, you want to make sure that machine gets isolated. You want to make sure the company knows what's happening, identify, kill, quarantine, whatever you have to do for that infection, and then remediate your machines. Ideally, it's remotely done. The folks at Interware can talk about how they do it. They provide a service from a remediation perspective, what we call MDR, Manage, Detect, and Respond service that you may want to look at. But the technology also has to play in with that as well. So that's where we fit in. And then recover. Establish protocols. This is important. People forget about the process. There's always people and technology, but there's also a process piece to it. So make sure you have you have the protocols and protection to recover the data. That'll minimize your downtime, and then leverage a cybersecurity warranty. SentinelOne comes with a warranty, $1 million warranty for ransomware. You may want to purchase warranty outside of your technology that you use if it doesn't come with a warranty. And then always cooperate with law enforcement. That's how we collect data. And create profiles on these folks. So I've gone pretty fast. I wanted to give James a chance to show you kind of how our technology works, how you recover from a ransomware attack, because these are those are most prevalent, and it affects everybody from families to organizations. So overall, you kind of need to know this workforce isn't going away. By default, it's made our systems and servers and laptops and desktops more vulnerable, our mobile phones more vulnerable. You'll need something that has always on defenses. You'll need people, processes, and technologies, not just one silver bullet. You'll need, if you don't have the expertise, leverage a partner like Interware. If you don't have the technology, look at technologies that are modern, that are taking care of today's vulnerabilities and taking care of today's malware attacks. Selfishly, I'll suggest you look at SentinelOne, and then take it from there. So a lot of information. I spoke fast. I'm sorry I was late on this. I appreciate your patience. I'm going to turn it over to James to kind of show you the product in action, if you will, and I think that'll solidify what I'm talking about and see how Interware will help you kind of take care of at least ransomware for this demo purposes.
Okay, great. Yeah, so I should be sharing 2 virtual machines at this time. And what we're going to use for this exercise, this is really how we demo the product, but it really is speaking to what makes us different in the marketplace, is that ability to see an attack come through and then put it back to where it was prior. Now, before I jump into this piece, I'm going to switch over to the console. And the console really just want to show you that I've got my current configuration for my agent or for the endpoint on this Windows machine in a detect only mode. Now, we do this because we want to show you that situation where an attack came through. We did see that attack, but for whatever reason, it could be that it was, the policy settings were still in a detect mode due to tuning. It could be that maybe it was a suspicious threat that came through, so the confidence score based on our AI modeling wasn't high enough for us to actually kill it and quarantine it, and you had it in a policy where it was detect for a low confidence score. Ideally, you would want to have your endpoints in a protect stance, meaning that like a antivirus should, right? As something is introduced that's malicious or suspicious, you want to kill and quarantine that. But I keep mine in a detect only mode so that we can show you that, yes, we did log the behavior, but we didn't actually take any action on that. And because of it being just detect, we still see that, but we don't kill it and quarantine it. But I'll show you that we can actually still go in after, kill it, quarantine it, remediate, meaning do any system changes, registry key changes, file system changes. And then in a case of a ransomware attack on a Windows machine, we are leveraging volume shadow copy that is local to that Windows machine, and we can capture those shadow copies and protect them and then utilize that for rollback functionality. So let's pop back over here. What I've got to the right is a Kali Linux operating system used for penetration testing, offensive assessments, and I've spun up what we call, or what is called, I guess, not just we, as a command and control server. So I'm using PowerShell Empire to serve as a command and control server. So I'm going to pose as an attacker over on the right. And I've already deployed a couple of documents to this machine to the left. Now, I did have to turn off all the detection capabilities on the machine in order to get these on here. But now that they're on there, we can just assume this is a situation where a user opens up an attachment from an email or maybe something that was on the USB stick. And once that happens, you'll see it call back over to this command and control to pull down the malware. So I'm going to open up this document. There's nothing really inside of this document. When I close it, you'll see a quick PowerShell that popped up, and it's reaching over here right now, and it's pulling down a ransomware payload. Now, it takes just a second for this, and once it gets over here, it's going to land. This is live ransomware, so I use a variant called GanCrab. It's a little bit older version. This other document that I have up here actually has a different type of attack for a demo. Takes a little bit longer. But as you can see, we're detecting this locally. And as you can see right now, it's turning these all into CRAB files. So this is encrypted this system and any of the files that were on this system. Now, if you wanted to, you can have this view for your users locally. So you could say, hey, we want our users to see this information. We want them to see what took place around that. Or in the policy settings, you can actually have that hidden. Really, there's different configurations you can do with our product in many different areas. But if I open this up, you can see that there is a ransom note that I need to pay the Bitcoin. So in most situations, like I mentioned when I first joined the call, there's a long process of re-imaging, restoring from backups. And by no means is this going to be replacing any of your backup strategies that you have. But to have this functionality built within your EDR can give you a quicker way of getting some of your remote workforce back into action. So now that we have this set up, I'm going to pop back over to see what took place in the SentinelOne console. And as you can see, I ran this demo just a minute ago, but we can see this phishing document come through. So as an analyst, I'm going to open this up and I'm going to take a look at some of the information inside of this to really kind of determine what is the scale, what is the intent of this, how is it that I can review this and see, if it's true positive, false positive. Now, some of the things that you might want to do is once you see that an endpoint's infected, you want to take that endpoint offline. You want to isolate it. So I could disconnect it from the network, or I could remote shell back into it. So I've isolated the machine off the network. I'm going to go back into it with PowerShell. I'm going to pull any artifacts from that machine. We can also see that we map a lot of these techniques to the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Very useful for red teams to emulate threats, for blue teams to pick up on different types of tactics, techniques, and procedures. And you can click on some of these, go directly to MITRE so that you can look for this information and see what type of malware or threat actor you're dealing with. Very helpful, especially when you start looking at things like persistence. So I can see that there's a scheduled task on this endpoint that gives them the ability to get back inside the environment. All of these things are helpful. So when I go and review this threat in this Explore tab, I can actually see a visualization of what took place. So I can see the Word document calling PowerShell, which in and of itself isn't malicious, but I can also see that outbound communication. In this case, it's an internal lab environment, but you can see this is that Kali Linux box that started everything. And you can see an encoded PowerShell session over here. So all of these things we pick up on and we show this to the analyst so they can make a determination. You can also see it tries to delete the shadow copies right here. And most malware and ransomware does this by default. All the variants that I've used will try to do this because it knows you're restoring from backups, and most likely those backups are from volume shadow copy. So it wants to delete this. We actually step in front of this as part of our anti-tamper, and we just hand back a successful deletion command to the malware so it thinks that it's successfully deleted those shadow copies in which it actually hasn't. Then we also have scheduled tasks. Again, this is where it's creating this persistence. So all of this information you can review in different ways to make your determination. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to mitigate this. So I'm going to put this back to where it was. I'm just going to apply it to this one threat. I'm going to kill and quarantine, which what I would have done if I was in a protect mode, but I'm in detect only. And then I'm going to remediate and roll back. Now, the reason I'm remediating and rolling back is I've got a scheduled task I've got to deal with. I've got a registry change I've got to deal with. I'm pretty much at this point saying anything that's associated with this phishing document and the storyline capability, which I mentioned earlier, we tie all of this together with this storyline functionality. So what we're basically doing is when explorer.exe, when that user clicked this document, a storyline was created that linked everything together that happens from this original spawning process of this document. And because we're linking all of that together, we can present this story to you like this, but we can also go back and undo everything that was done. So we give you a breakdown of what we've killed, what we've quarantined, what we've remediated, what we've rolled back. So you can see everything. So all of those, well, did I get everything? Do I need to have a rescan? You know, is it still in there? All of this stuff is redone, and you can actually break it down, open up a CSV file to see exactly what was done. And ultimately, we want to get the user back to where they were. So as you can see, the system is no longer encrypted. Sessions are cut off from the command and control. The original document that started everything is gone, and the user's back to where they were. So in a protect state, this demo is very boring. It's very quick. All you see is the file disappear and nothing happens. But we want to show you a situation where if something does get through, you've got a plan of action that you can utilize with our product to get it back and get the user back in force.
How a product or maybe a solution would help us to do the work. At this moment, I would like to talk to you about, using compliance as a tool to improve your security and also minimizing risk. So first thing first is these are the agendas items that I'd like to talk about. Number one is about our company, the Process Fusion. No, it's not going to be a very long story about it, but at the same time, I would like to discuss our journey in terms of our compliance experience with you. Then you will have an idea that, other than technology, what needs to be done in terms of having a better protection of your environment. Second thing is I want to talk to you about is about our Process Fusion 360 cloud services. And Charles is going to discuss that. And the last thing is about how to do the continuous improvement so that you will be able to protect yourself better. It's about us here, two of us. I'm the Chief Operating Officer that I basically manage the HR and security and compliance area. And Charles is the head of product marketing, so that is the products packaging, value proposition, as well as the sales enablement. So both of us working closely to make sure that the services that we provide to customers are the top level. So the next thing happen is about us. So we are actually a company, a joint merger that happened in 2018. Two companies. One is a software service development company, as well as the other one is a managed service company, as well as a system integration company. So we basically joined force, and at that moment, our objectives was to create a leading digital transformation cloud solution company. So what it meant is that
I think you stopped sharing. I
oh,
don't see
sorry.
slides.
Okay.
There you go.
Is it back?
Yeah, there you go.
That's great. We blame it on Teams. So we have more than 20 years in business, and also we are very proud of ourselves to be information security certified. At this moment, we have already processed over, say, 50 million documents on our combined cloud environment, and also we have over 10,000 certified customers. In terms of our cloud services, so for us, we have been providing service to our customers through two different service offerings. The first one is really about what we call the managed application services, which means that we help people to manage critical business applications on their cloud or maybe on our cloud. it all depending on the requirements. So the enterprise and public services customer would actually allow us to run the system for them, do the day-to-day management of the applications, and also making sure that their users, if needed, they can actually reach out to us directly to report on the different issues, and we will work on the incidents accordingly. Another area is that we are developing the software as a service company. It means that we basically providing our service like a subscription. So people will be able to say subscribe to our service, mainly in the area of document workflow. So we have a document workflow system called Capture Point that, a very intelligent cloud-based document management system and capture system. We have already bundled the machine learning and artificial capability on it so that, when a document goes into our cloud, we will be able to say, help people to process it automatically. Another area is called Infinity Cloud, which is a cloud-based print management solution that allow people to, handle printing without the local print servers. And actually, we will be able to say put in a lot of reporting and analytic functions to the service so that people will be able to make use of the service and do their printing without worrying about the infrastructure behind. So as a cloud company, obviously, we know something about security because we know that, we have the responsibility to protect our customers' data, as well as we have to make sure that our services will be up and running at all times. So as you know that, since the beginning of this year, there were quite a number of attacks. Paul has already mentioned about the Colonial pipelines, and also there were other attacks that happened. And people will always say that, oh, okay, if that is the case, we just need to put in the latest and greatest technology and we will be able to solve all the problems. And I would say that it's very important that we put in the latest and greatest technology because that will be a way to prevent bad things from happening. However, we also need to think about other areas that we need to cover. So in Process Fusion, because we have the roots of doing managed services, we have already been adopting the ITIL methodology, the information technology information library. That is a framework that, for many organizations, they have been talking about it and they have been implementing it. And we actually really committed to this type of methodology. So we're actually using an ITIL-based IT service management system to govern our ongoing incident, request, problem, and change management processes. So one thing that is about ITIL is they always emphasize these 3 dimensions. The 3 dimensions are actually about people, process, and technology. And in the latest version of the ITIL, they actually add another dimension called partner and supplier. That is really, basically building the relationship between all those 4 parties or 4 areas to make sure that, IT management could be run in the most effective manner. Then I have to tell you a story about, we actually work with the Canadian government. In 2018, we started working with the Canadian government to roll out our products. And then we realized that we actually have to be in compliance with the government's security standards. So there are, of course, a bulk of regulations and standards that they refer to. But at the end of it, there were actually 2 main things that we would need to follow. The first thing is, if we are providing software to the Canadian government, we have to be certified on either Type 2 SOC 2 or ISO 27001. It's all. But if we are trying to provide a cloud solution to the government, we have to be both Type 2 SOC 2 and ISO 27001 certified. So that basically put us in a position that we will say, okay, we don't really have a choice. So we have to go ahead to start our compliance journey to make sure that we will be able to continue working with the government and providing the solutions. So after some hard work, at this moment, we have achieved our compliance certifications. So far, we have SOC 2, Type 2, the SOC, which is at the left-hand side. We have the United Kingdom Cyber Essentials certification. we have be certified to be compliant with GDPR, which is a European standard. And also, most importantly, we have been certified ISO 27001 as well as 17 and 18. Those two are actually indicating that we are qualified to be a qualified software cloud service provider. And in terms of the certifications, we basically, our objectives was achieving confidentiality, integrity, and availability of the data and information for our customers. So at this moment, I think I will pass it on to Charles. He's going to tell us more about our Process Fusion 360 services.
Thank you, Oscar, and good afternoon, everybody. Confidentiality, integrity, and trust, I think, is still one of the most important things when you think about cloud service. And this is something that we, although we went through a journey of thinking about ensuring that we do all of this, it wasn't just for us. The whole concept of this is also eliminating the anxiety when clients are looking for a service to automate or simplify their business. They have that trust of not having to worry about the security, because if you think about security, is always top of mind with any solution you want to buy. It's always the question that's always brought up. And with the fact that digital transformation is really it's a sexy word, I would say, or a word that's being heavily used. It's still something that's disrupting how businesses are going about changing the way they do things from a process perspective, which really comes to the point of what we've done internally, where we've combined all of our key technologies, which Oscar mentioned earlier, which is our Infinity Cloud and our capture point technologies, and built one platform that is a fully secured cloud managed platform that delivers basically automation and simplification to high value business processes. So we've taken the traditional print in the market, we've taken the manual document processes, and when I say document, it's paper or digital, and within this platform, we really are changing the way people are going about their business. And the value around this technology is the fact that you can scale your business without adding additional cost to it. And really, that's really the power behind this platform. If you can get to the next slide, Oscar. What Process Fusion 360 is, it comprises of three components, which technically, if you remove the words, it's really input, output, or input, process, and output, right? But the three areas which are common with most businesses, which have to tie into security, but tie into business processes and documents, is capture, print, and mobile, right? You probably see this, and really this is a holistic technology that really delivers a simple way for organizations to implement something and really change the way they do things, improving and removing any bottlenecks. And of course, the capture component captures documents, extracting the necessary information without the need of in removing the manual indexing or data entry steps that a typical process would take, like accounts payable. The print is something that, although not sexy, is something that still people do, and especially with organizations printing from home or printing from different locations, they need a lot of organizations, or even with virtual desktops, they need to have a secure or managed platform that's simple to use without a lot of headaches. And to be honest with you, no IT person really wants to really manage print. And this is really where the technology takes over and really simplifies that, where you basically leave it with us and we handle it all for you. And it's kind of like the old, I don't know if you guys remember the old Ronco infomercials. You basically set it and you forget it. And that's really the power behind this. And lastly, the real power and the strength around Process Fusion 360 and the platform itself is its mobile capabilities. We all use mobile devices, and the fact that people still will interact more with their mobile devices than with their PC, etc. This really is a tool by which organizations can use this to automate specific processes, like their expense reports, like their invoicing, like any other specific process within their business. And really, that's the power behind Process Fusion 360 and what we're trying to do to help organizations in a very secure and safe way. Over to you, Oscar.
Great, thank you. So I would like to discuss about some continuous improvements after the implementation of the compliance project. There are two important points that I would like to emphasize. Is number one, compliance. When many people talk about compliance, they will say, "Oh, okay, it's about security, it's about IT." No, it's not. Actually, compliance is about making you or maybe me will be working in a better company, because that compliance actually means that you need to implement proper organizational structure and control policies and procedure based on the proven standards and frameworks. So that is the part that many people didn't realize, or they may think that compliance is about IT. No, it's not. Another area is that compliance doesn't mean it will make us bulletproof. So Paul mentioned that ransomware would attack the attack of ransomware is just a matter of when, right? We know that at this very moment there are actually state actors hacking happening everywhere. When you're dealing with the technical or expertise of a country, sometimes it's a little bit hard for you to do anything to protect yourself as a company. So I can only say that don't ever think that compliance will make you bulletproof. Instead, you just use compliance as a means to continuously improve your own infrastructure as well as practice. So compliance is going to help security. How does it happen? It's really about an ongoing challenge that we have to improve through the compliance process. So compliance was actually shaped the 4 ITIL dimensions. Remember, I mentioned about people, process, technology, suppliers. So those 4 dimensions, if you are using a good compliance tools, then you will be able to shape those 4 dimensions, and also security will be improved as a result. To make it work, I would recommend you to go through what they call the PDCA methodology. So basically means to plan, to do the check, and then to act. You need to pick a security standard and framework to follow first. And the second thing is you have to assign the right personnel and pick a partner, for example, Interware, to lead the implementation, help you to look into different areas to improve. And then you have to document your policies and procedures based on the standard. You have to initiate your company-wide risk assessment to identify all the potential vulnerabilities. And then the most important thing is you have to get your management support. If your executive teams are in line with you, they are supporting you, you will have things done very quickly. And then you will perform the internal audit to make sure that all the areas are covered, and then you will be able to fix all the known issues. And the next thing is to go through an outside vendor, outside auditor to get your compliance certificate done. But the most important thing is really about to maintain and improve everything on an ongoing basis, and then restart the whole process periodically. When I say periodically, usually it means that every year you have to go through the same exercise again and make sure that you are really in compliance. That's all I want to talk about today. I will pass it back to